Hey, what's going on, everyone? Boylon here, and normally I would say TGI Friday because that's usually when we talk about blog posts, but now it's TGI Tuesday because we have a fresh blog post which was mentioned on Friday that they would have for today. So today's blog has a whole slew of content and things to talk about as part of their feature roadmap for the rest of 2020. And man, is it packed with a lot of stuff here, guys. But I'm not going to sit here talking about it. Instead, we're going to go jump over to the blog post and go through it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are over on the blog post. It's called 2020 Preview Doom Rising, and we have a big giant photo of Dr. Doom with, I don't know, something Doom related, I suppose. I don't know if this means anything, but comment down below if this is something Dr. Doom related that I am unaware of. Maybe some sort of planet or something that it's supposed to be. I'm assuming that's not Earth. Anyways, guys, greetings everyone. Earlier this year in Marvel Strike Force, the team, so they're just basically talking about the I guess one of the blog posts from before, is that what it is? Yeah, the early 2020 update from February, where they talked about, I think, ISO 8 and a bunch of other things as well. So, we're going to scroll down through this a little bit. So they do talk about ISO 8 here again, and they basically said that there was a playtest in October 2019, and then they overhauled it again, and they did some other playtesting, I think, not too long ago, and so there isn't anything concrete here, but they did have the preview of the ISO 8, which you can click on in the blog post, and I'll have a link to the blog post as well in the description below if you would like to look at it yourselves. They have one of the previous blog posts from a couple weeks back where they actually did a preview of ISO 8 and the sort of class system and all of that, so you can check that out if you need to. And I think they're also coming out with a new ISO 8 campaign. No specific dates for any of this thing, which is kind of expected by them, but it's still nice to see that it's being worked on, and hopefully it's not too long in the future. This is what's really interesting, the real-time PvP competitive mode. So, yeah, they're talking about a bit of draft. I'll read it out for you guys. So by now, many of you likely participated in the versus battle feature, where you draft a team and battle a friend alliance member in real-time PvP. The dev team has reviewed the results and feedback about this feature, and many players have stated that they would like to have a competitive version of real-time PvP. We're happy to announce that the production has started on real-time PvP competitive mode. Bit of a mouthful. Where there'll actually be actual rewards involved. This will include a matchmaking system to allow you to jump into battles quickly with an opponent of relatively similar stats. So this was important here, because I think some of the problems with the current system, even though there's no rewards attached to it, was that there wasn't any way for you to quickly get into battle. You know, if you don't have very many friends, or if those friends don't want to play PvP, you know, there wasn't really much of an avenue for you to sort of find people that wants to play it. So I'm glad that they're talking about a matchmaking system to make it easier to get involved in that. So before the full feature is released later this year, the team is trying to add a matchmaking button for the current versus battle mode. We love real-time battles and understand it can be hard to find opponents whenever you're in the mood for a battle. This will help bridge the gap while we work on the complete version of the feature. So that's good. In developing this feature, we want to be respectful of players' time. For example, we know that drafting in versus battle, while a lot of fun, can also take longer than the actual battle. So this is a common complaint here that I've heard from my alliance and other people as well, is that the actual drafting process can take like 5 or 6 minutes, and by that time people are bored or don't have the time to finish the battle, or whatever the case is. So they said that they're looking at streamlining the drafting process or just removing it altogether. So if they actually removed it altogether, that would make a significant difference to the actual PvP battle mode, because I think that's, I wouldn't say it's part of it, but I think that it's definitely an aspect of more competitive PvP nature. I don't know if any of you guys play, you know, sort of League of Legends or any of these MOBA games. You know, they have a drafting process where you ban heroes and things like that. So I think by removing that aspect, it would actually change up the PvP aspect of it quite a bit. But, you know, maybe it wouldn't, but, you know, if they can do something different that also sort of works, then, you know, we'll see how that goes. They're focused on not increasing your game time overall by continuing to modify and looking at the time players spend in other areas of the game, like Blitz. Your feedback on this topic is welcome and appreciated. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want this, I really want to play this game mode, the competitive PvP, but I also don't want it to be a very time-consuming process. And we're gonna get to Blitz, but, you know, I really want to do it, but I don't want it to take up like all my day just doing those battles. So a good sort of balance will be important to the longevity of that game mode. New mission. So Dark Dimension 4 is coming. fourth edition of Dark Dimension is looking to be the most challenging yet. They always say this, with some equally impressive rewards. The rewards for completing I just spoiled it. DD4 will be a playable version of none other than the devious Dr. Victor Von Doom. And as with other Dark Dimensions, there will be much fanfare and a host of goodies for everyone associated with the first player to clear DD4. So that's very much like Widowmaker from DD2 and Tadano Mac from DD3. I don't think they actually did anything for Dark Dimension 1, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that one. It's been a while. The requirements for characters to participate in DD4 is none other than Gear Tier 15, you know, because we've been super excited to look forward to that, you know, when most people aren't even through Tier 14. So, my recommendations to people who are in Dark Dimension 3 and on their way towards finishing: don't upgrade any more characters to Tier 14 than you have to clear the second run of DD3. After that, you know, don't just willy-nilly upgrade characters to Tier 14, because you have no idea, you know, if any of that orange gear is going to be required for Gear Tier 15, and you might actually be set back because of that. You know, I know from Fear the Darkness / you know, Dark Dimension 2, when I finished that, I upgraded a bunch of characters to Tier 13 because I had all this extra gear, and then when Tier 14 came around, I didn't have all of the orange, you know, catalysts and all that to get the characters I wanted to use up. So be careful about that, guys, because, you know, that could hit you in the face later on, and you don't want to be blindsided by this Gear Tier 15, whatever it's going to be. So they did say that they're going to be making Gear Tier 14 more accessible, including adding superior gear pieces in a new story campaign. And then they talk about that down below. We get a little shot of Dr. Doom, which you've probably seen his model in the Gamma raids that's going on right now. I think it's Gamma that's going on right now. And you see him in the voice dialogue section anyways, but this is a more, I guess, full photo of Dr. Doom. So the new story campaign. If you've been following the story of Strike in the campaigns, Ultimus is now trapped in another dimension, and it seems that all is well. But just as it looks like as though you're about to enjoy a respite, a new menace turns its gaze to threaten Earth. Prepare for the next chapter in the Strike Force saga, as Dr. Doom is about to take center stage, and he always has a plan. So should we get like the Dr. Doom orb instead of the Ultimus orb now then, because, you know, Ultimus is done for? As mentioned above, this will include the superior gear pieces, or what the community calls the mini uniques. So it looks like this new chapter, whatever it's going to be called, is going to be including mini uniques as a farmable gear, I suppose. So that's always good. I expect the drop rates to be horrible, kind of like with the new sort of the new chapters are, but at least it's better than nothing, right? So more challenge tiers, of course. I don't think this needs to be said. 2 more additional tiers, because with the Gear Tier 15, with increasing rewards, normally the rewards aren't anything spectacular. I think the only time that this was, you know, anywhere good was the Red Star one, the orb fragments, and the ability materials, which is included in the sort of 3 oranges you get per attempt. So, you know, if they increase that a little bit more, then okay. Everything else is pretty marginal. Raid difficulty selector for the Greek raid. So I wasn't really surprised about this. I think they might have talked about this back when they were doing Ultimate 7, that there would be an expansion of this onto the Greek raid. So I don't know how many difficulties that's going to be or when that's coming in. But personally, I'd rather see brand new maps. I think a lot of people are really frustrated and really bored to tears with the same Greek raids over and over and over again. So I think they, you know, I really hope that they mix this up, maybe with a difficulty selector or whatever. It's just, raids are super tiring and super boring, and I don't know if difficulties necessarily make it better. You know, it makes it more challenging, sure, but it's not any more fun. It probably makes it less fun, actually, but I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong, but they definitely need new types of raids, new maps. They've had this for well over a year. I almost want to say close to 2, but I'm not exactly sure. I think it's at least 1.5 to 2 years. Improvements. So they're talking about what down here, some of the bug fixes and all that. So audio, SF, sound effects. This is if you play on iOS, especially, and probably Android as well. But I noticed it on my iPhone when I play in bed that the sound effects can be pretty crappy. I've noticed that there's been a bit of an improvement, I think, over the last few patches, as they mentioned here, and I haven't noticed it as badly, but yeah, it's been an ongoing issue for a long time, and sometimes the sound used to just stop altogether, so I'm glad it's actually brought up for some reason, but it hasn't been completely fixed yet. So this is what I'm looking forward to here. Blitz adjustments. Finally, finally, you know, I've been talking about this. You know, I made a video about this not too long ago, and this has been one of the issues that I was hoping to see in the blog post. I'm glad this is mentioned here, and let's go through it. So, while Blitz is a great mode to flex the might of your entire roster, there are several parts of it we would like to improve. First, we're updating and flattening the reward structure for Blitz. Rank rewards will have less variance in how many shards players in the top brackets will earn. Players in the top percentile brackets will earn more shards than they currently do, so that's good, more shards. Second, to give players more flexibility in their day, we're limiting the number of free refreshes each character can get in a 24-hour period. This, guys, is huge. So what it sounds like to me, and they haven't gone into any specifics, but like there might be a cap of how many free rotations you can do with your roster a day. So we don't know what that's going to be. Is that going to be 3 or 4? But, you know, I hope it, you know, 4 I would be nice, and then beyond that you'd have to pay Blitz charges. I think that would be a very good compromise to some of the complaints for Blitz, is that there's been, you know, the more teams you add, the more rotations you do, and so on and so forth. So it becomes almost like unlimited blitzing. So if they make it to about 3 or 4, maybe 5, you know, free rotations a day, then there's a cap to how much Blitz you can play in a day, which is great because Blitz burnout is a huge thing. You know, go back and watch my video about Blitz. You know, it's after the 2 events, the Unity event and the Fun in the Sun event, and now the X23 Blitz, like, I know there are people saying, well, you just don't need to blitz that much, and yeah, that's true, but if you do want to stay some form of competitive, you know, and for X23, who's going to be likely used in the Legendary Doc Ock event, you know, I wouldn't say I had to do it, but I felt like I needed to. So I really hope that this is on the road to sort of fixing some of the problems that we're having with Blitz, and I'll wait until we hear more concrete stuff about this, about the more specific numbers. Third, we're revisiting our points calculation to significantly increase the value of winning matches and somewhat reduce the points earned for taking on extremely powerful opponents. So you might notice this at Blitz 8.3, where the power disparity is like, you know, 100 to 150k or more sometimes, depending on which teams you're using and what power your team is currently at. So, you know, hopefully, I guess that might be addressing some of the power gaps there and sort of how much points you're getting out of that. We're also looking at ways to reduce the overall time spent in Blitz to allow you to focus on other parts of the game. More info to come. So I really hope they do. I really hope that they're serious about this, and I really hope that they do decide to actually act on this. And so this part up here with the free refreshes, that's really important. So I think that is a good way forward on reducing the sort of low quality time on Blitz, but we'll have to see what that actually means really, you know, in the weeks to come. Weeks and months to come probably, but I hope it's sooner rather than later, because Blitz really needs to be fixed, like, now. Squad management. We understand that creating teams in the squad select screen can be cumbersome when searching for characters with specific tags. As a needed quality of life improvement, we'll be implementing the ability to sort characters in the squad select screen by the end of the year, with additional improvements coming later. So that's a bit of a long-term plan, but yeah, you guys might know that, you know, sort of creating your own teams from the sort of the Blitz team or any of the character select screen can be really problematic, because, you know, if you have like 130 characters, you have to scroll through them, you know, by power, and then sort your team out that way and then save it. You know, it's not bad once you save it, but getting to that point is a bit annoying. Wolverine as the daily login. So most people by now, if you're you know, a mid to late game player, you have Wolverine in the 7-star, and so they said that they're going to update the all clear objective to identify players that have Wolverine 7-star, and if they do, will reward a different type of resource. Who knows what's that going to be? What that's going to be, rather. But hopefully it's something decent. Maybe it could be a different character. You know, I wouldn't even matter at this point, because it's just going into Ultimates Fragments, which is doing nothing. So, in summary, there are even more features, characters, and improvements on the way that we're not able to talk about just yet, so if there's something you were looking for not mentioned here, doesn't mean that it's absent from our radar. We'll continue to have an open line of communication with you and post regular updates on our progress. Thank you for playing our game, and, you know, excited for 2020, happy, healthy, and safe and all that, you know, because of how things are going right now in the world. Whew, that was a lot of things. So, which part of the blog post are you guys most excited for? I think for me, definitely excited about Dr. Doom. What I'm kind of not excited about is Gear Tier 15. Where's that? Where did I mention that? It's there somewhere. Anyways, let's back up more. So they talk about Gear Tier 15 as a requirement for Dark Dimension 4. I can't seem to find it. Here we go. Yeah, so I'm not looking forward to this, but, you know, I think it's inevitable at this point that, you know, we're going to have to get there. Like I said before, you know, I definitely save your orange gear if you don't need to use them. So only use it for like the required characters for Dark Dimension 3, sorry. And you know, once you get a full team of 5, if you can make it through Dark Dimension with those, I would just stay there. You know, I wouldn't upgrade too many characters into 14 that you don't need to, because you might find that when they do release the requirements for Gear Tier 15, that is going to become a bit of an issue, and you might find yourself, you know, at a deficit of orange gear of certain types, probably. Unless they're going with a brand new color that I'm not aware of, you know, that they're bringing out. But otherwise, I expect it to be... I think it is orange anyways, because you can actually see Gear Tier 15 characters in Blitz if you punch up high enough. Some of them have a different circle around their orange, and it's like not Tier 14, but it's actually Tier 15, so... I expect it to continue to be orange. So, and secondly, yeah, so Dr. Doom... looking forward to that. That's exciting. And then the competitive PvP mode. Actually, I'm excited about this as well. And ISO 8, it's going to be, you know, it is what it is. It's going to be another progression system and more stuff to farm. They didn't really put any specifics on the dates, so I kind of wonder, is ISO 8 going to come before or after Dark Dimension 4? Is DD4 going to be with ISO 8 in mind on top of the Gear Tier 15? We'll have to wait and see. The Blitz changes. That is definitely something that I'm looking forward to, and I hope this gets done sooner rather than later, because we need this. So that's what I think about the blog post so far personally, but I think there's a lot here and a lot of good stuff to talk about, which I'm sure we'll be talking about in the weeks to come. And that's everything for today, guys, for this surprise blog post video. I hope there was a little bit of everything in there for you all, and it definitely touched on a lot of concerns I had with the game as it stands right now. Blitz was definitely on the top of my concerns, as mentioned in some of my previous videos, and glad that it's being addressed by the developers. We just will have to wait to see what specifically and when they plan to implement this. It's good to see some of the things that they're working on, and they do admit there are shortcomings in a few areas as well. I'm actually really glad they've improved their lines of communication as well, because if you guys have played for a long time, then you'll know that things were really down in the dumps even last year. So there's been a huge improvement in this. But yeah, what are you guys most excited for coming in the near future? Comment down below which of the features or game modes or changes excite you the most. And of course, if you liked my video today, then please smash that like button and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And until next video, stay safe everyone. Boylon signing out.